Does the idea of being stuck in an enclosed space make you feel uneasy? How would you feel if you found yourself stuck in complete darkness or adrift in the middle of the ocean? If you sometimes have irrational feelings of anxiety or panic because anything specific, you might have a phobia. Phobias are no joke. It's believed that at least 25% of adults suffer from one or more phobias. Most of them are caused by some form of trauma experienced early in life, or even a single moment that leaves a kind of scar in the sufferer's mind. Some of the most common phobias you've heard of, claustrophobia, the fear of enclosed spaces, is one of the most common and well known. The same is true with trypanophobia, which is the fear of needles, or acrophobia, the fear of heights. But some phobias are a bit less easy to understand. Even though they are real for the sufferer, an outsider just might not get it. With that in mind, I'm Mike with List 25, and here are 25 strange phobias that you could have. And I'll tell you what, let's see if you can figure out which of these phobias is the fake one, because one of them is. We'll reveal the answer at the end. Good luck. Zoophobia, the fear of animals. Does your heart race when you get near an animal? Do you avoid going to a friend's house if you know they have pets? If so, you may have some form of zoophobia, an intense fear of animals. Some people with this are afraid of all animals, but they're in the minority. Most people who deal with zoophobia are afraid of a specific animal. Most common are the Atelophobia, the fear of snakes, and Arachnophobia, the fear of spiders. Other, less common animal phobias are Cynophobia, the fear of dogs, and Entomophobia, the fear of insects. If you have any form of zoophobia, you're not alone. In all its forms, zoophobia is one of the top 3 most common phobias.
24.
Chaetophobia, the fear of hair. People with chaetophobia have an intense aversion to hair. For some, it's only stray hairs or clumps of hair that cause the stress, while others fear all hair and will stay away from people with long, luxurious hair, afros, or those who just have really thick hair. One of the causes of this phobia could stem from one of the germ phobias. Because hair is often dirty or oily or can sometimes carry germs or lice, chaetophobics are disgusted by it and can experience physical sickness from touching it or even being near it.
23.
Pogonophobia, the fear of beards. It isn't just the hair on your head that may cause someone severe distress. They can also have intense anxiety from your facial hair as well. If they do, they're suffering from pogonophobia, the extreme fear of beards. It's believed that pogonophobics associate facial hair with poverty or homelessness. They see people with beards as dirty or diseased. Another cause could be that people with beards have large portions of their face covered, which sufferers associate with the wearer being mysterious, untrustworthy, or malevolent. With the popularity of beards these days, times must be rough for all you pogonophobics out there.
22.
Chorophobia, the fear of dancing. People love to dance, except in Footloose. They probably all had that though. You drudge through a week at work, waiting for Friday night so you can go out to a club, have a good time, and dance the night away. Anyway, someone with chorophobia would rather keep working. Chorophobia is the fear of dancing. Unlike most other phobias, which stem from a traumatic experience, chorophobia can be caused by other sources, such as growing up in a strict religious household where dancing is seen as a sin, or from an intense fear of being touched. You may be saying, so just don't dance. What's the big deal? Well, imagine you never get into any relationships because it may end up in marriage. And people dance at weddings, so you have to avoid falling in love because what's the point? That's just how anxiety works and how crippling a phobia can be. It can destroy someone's entire life.
21.
Omphalophobia, the fear of belly buttons. I have a belly button. You have a belly button. Everybody has a belly button. Except, apparently, Alfred Hitchcock, which actually is a true story. People with omphalophobia really wish you didn't, though. Omphalophobia is the fear of belly buttons. It's what's known as a specific phobia, which is a phobia that focuses on a single minute detail. It is completely irrational, and the person who has it knows it is. But guess what? That makes no difference. It's the thought that those with this condition believe that the belly button could unravel in some way, causing extreme pain or possibly death. We, and they, know this simply could not happen, but the thought sits there in the back of their mind.
20,
The Pickle Phobia. Try looking up the Pickle Phobia sometime. Nobody really has an official name for it. Because of a ridiculous segment on the Maury Povich show years ago, some think it's a hoax. Oh my goodness. Others, it's a little too weird and stupid to possibly be real. But it is. Most likely stemming from Erythrophobia, which is the fear of sour things, pickles legitimately cause some people to have irrational panic and anxiety at the mere thought of them. For some, it may be the taste. Others may be triggered by the way they look. That's the source of the fear. Whatever the cause or name, I can assure you that the pickle phobia is a real thing. How do I know this? Because I actually know someone who suffers from it. It may be hard not to laugh when you see someone scream and cry and run away when confronted by, one of these little green terror vegetables. But you do have to feel for them. A pickle phobia can make their lives a brutal hellscape of brine-soaked evil. And that's just no way to live, is it?
19,
Erythrophobia, the fear of blushing. Erythrophobia can be summed up as follows. The extreme fear of blushing due to embarrassment, which causes anxiety and panic, which causes redness in the face or chest, which causes embarrassment due to blushing, which causes more fear, anxiety, and panic. Obviously, the unimaginable cycle of fear can seem never-ending, leading to long-lasting depression and anxiety disorders. Thankfully, it's a very treatable phobia that many people have overcome.
18,
Atelophobia, fear of imperfection. People can sometimes be very hard on themselves. One of the things most people struggle with is the feeling of not being good enough. Imposter syndrome keeps so many people unable to reach their true potential. Atelophobia goes far beyond what most people would consider perfectionism. It is being terrified of making even one small, simple, insignificant mistake. It causes people to avoid any and all situations where even the possibility of a mistake is present. People with atelophobia likely grew up in a strict household where they were constantly criticized for everything, and there was no flexibility offered to them. They learn to adapt those traits into their own perceptions of themselves, which manifests as the phobia. So maybe if you're the type of parent that always pushes your kid to do more and be better all the time, lighten up a little. You could be doing more damage than good.
17,
Urophobia, the fear of urine or urinating. Urophobia is the irrational fear of urine or urinating. It's believed to be an extension of one of the germ phobias. However, if you suffer from urophobia, it doesn't mean that you have one or any of those other various phobias. Urophobia can take on two forms. You could be afraid of other people's urine, or of others and your own urine at the same time. The irrational fear and anxiety is upsetting and could make the necessary trips to the bathroom an almost traumatic experience. And owning a pet like a dog or a cat would be completely out of the question. But honestly, I get it. Maybe it's different for women, but for men who, at least in public places, usually end up standing next to other guys at the urinals can be pretty gross. You're always hoping you don't get any splashback. Trust me, it's not fun.
16,
Nomophobia, the fear of not having your smartphone. Nomophobia is a new phobia that has developed as society's dependence on technology has increased. Named by combining the words of no more phone phobia, there are several causes that can play a part in developing this disorder. The most likely causes are extensions of being afraid of loneliness and/or isolation. We've become so dependent on our devices for literally everything that being without it or even unable to use it for any period of time is unthinkable. Society has become so addicted to things like social media, immediate information, and while it's happening, news updates that some people don't even know how to function as a human being without it. There's also another reason people become addicted to their phones, and it has nothing to do with a mental issue. It's called dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical in your brain that makes you feel happy, motivated, or excited when released into your system. Whenever you take a quick look at Instagram, check your email, or get a text, a little shot of dopamine is released, literally acting as a drug would. You experience a moment of euphoria every time you enter your passcode. Over time, your body starts to physically need that dopamine to come at a much quicker pace. Essentially, nomophobia is caused by addiction rather than fear. People are legitimately addicted to the feeling they get from their phones.
15,
Thanatophobia, the fear of death. When it comes right down to it, aren't most fears really just the fear of death? It's the one thing that is completely unknown that every living thing will experience. And it's final. People, like me, with thanatophobia have an extreme fear of dying, or the process of dying. We are also generally fearful of others we know or care about dying. People who have this disorder usually include those who have experienced the traumatic death of a loved one, or have witnessed someone actually pass away. It's believed that anywhere from 3 to 10% of people have this intense fear of dying. One interesting part of this is that while younger adults have a fear of death, older people have a fear of the dying process.
14,
Somniphobia, the fear of falling asleep. Don't be confused by this one. Somniphobia is not a fear of sleeping as much it is as a fear of the act of falling asleep. But why? The basic concept of somniphobia is that what is most frightening about sleep is not falling asleep, but rather what could happen to you while you are actually asleep. And I'm not talking about intruders coming to your house. I mean things like nightmares or night terrors or even sleep paralysis, which, if you've never experienced it, can be truly horrifying. The fear of these things can cause insomnia, stress, anxiety, and dread as bedtime approaches. Worry and anxiety can cause fitful sleep as your mind tries to subconsciously deal with the stress in the form of dreams, thus adding to the phobia's effect. Everyone knows that sleep deprivation can cause many types of physical problems and illnesses, shortening your lifespan. So you could say that somniphobia could lead to death.
13,
Chromophobia, the fear of colors. I know it seems weird, but many people deal with chromophobia on a daily basis. Chromophobia is the fear of colors. Usually a person will be phobic about one or two colors. Examples include the fear of the color yellow, xanthophobia, or the fear of the color purple, porphyrophobia. If a person is afraid of all colors, it'll usually be focused on very bright colors that really stand out. This type of phobia is usually associated with post-traumatic stress disorder, autism, or Asperger's syndrome. With the Asperger's or autism, it is almost impossible to understand what causes the phobia to occur. With PTSD, it's likely that whatever it was that caused the trauma is associated with the color. Say someone is in a war-related hot zone and they see a friend shot or hit with debris from an explosive. If they saw their friend covered in blood, they may suffer from a phobia of the color red. And I truly feel for anyone who has experienced something so traumatic that just seeing a color can cause a panic or anxiety attack.
12,
Coulrophobia, the fear of clowns. It's amazing how many people are afraid of clowns. Clowns are supposed to be the symbol of fun. They're supposed to bring happiness and joy to children and adults alike. But that's not the way people tend to see them. Being afraid of clowns is very different than having coulrophobia, the crippling fear of clowns. There's a theory that the source of this phobia is brought about by the idea that the bright, happy makeup they wear doesn't seem to match the face underneath. The first clowns were actually court jesters, whose job was to make royalty uncomfortable. They were created to be mischievous and unsettling. Current pop culture icons such as the Joker, Pennywise, and the uber creepy Wrinkles the Clown have only helped to further this perception.
11,
Kenophobia, the fear of open spaces, as opposed to agoraphobia, which is the intense fear of being trapped or unable to get out of an environment, like a shopping center or busy restaurant. Traveling in a subway car would be either terrifying or impossible for an agoraphobic. Someone with Kenophobia, however, experiences those intense feelings when in an open space or void. They would have great difficulty being in an empty arena before a concert, or even walking to a large empty room. They're also irrationally fearful of voids, like a large open field or pasture. In these places, they feel exposed, which leads to intense anxiety, which leads to panic attacks, which leads to more anxiety. In fact, many phobias have this effect on people. Arachibutyrophobia, the fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth. It's considered one of the simple phobias. Say you once saw someone with a peanut allergy have a reaction after accidentally eating something with peanut butter in it. They begin to choke and could die without immediate medical attention. This memory might stay in your unconscious mind and cause the phobia. Another possible cause could stem from a general choking phobia. The fear of choking is a common one. With arachibutyrophobia, this should not be taken lightly. Sometimes a phobic person can show physical signs of their fears. For someone who fears choking, the act of swallowing actually becomes difficult. In essence, the phobia causes the symptoms, which fuels the phobia, which worsens the symptoms. It's a vicious circle of panic and terror people are just stuck with from peanut butter.
9.
Fictofabriphobia, the fear of made-up characters. Fictofabriphobia is usually formed in childhood, when children are reading bedtime stories. The children hear the story and then fall asleep, allowing the characters and worlds they have just heard about to enter their minds while they sleep. Fictofabriphobia is the fear of made-up characters. The name comes from Greek, with ficto meaning a falsehood, fabra meaning to make real, and obviously phobia meaning fear of. A child's mind soaks up information at an incredible pace. The reason they're fascinated with fictional characters like Mickey Mouse is because in some way they believe them to be real. This is understandable considering parents, a child's most trusted individual, tells them they are. They tell kids about Santa or that they're gonna meet Mickey Mouse, and that stuff just sticks in a child's mind. For the unfortunate, as they grow, part of this belief stays locked in their brain and causes extreme anxiety and panic at even the sight of a mascot.
8.
Plutophobia, the fear of money. No, Plutophobia is not an intense and irrational fear of Mickey Mouse's dog. But as Disney is one of the world's largest and most profitable companies, you may not want to head there to meet Pluto. Plutophobia is the fear of money, wealth, or wealthy people. You may be thinking, why would anyone be scared of having lots of money? Well, it's not the money per se. It's more about everything that comes with the money. Those with Plutophobia have more fear of all the responsibilities that come with money and all of the headaches associated with it. They deal with the anxiety associated with having to manage and be responsible for a large sum of money. If you think about it, it's actually understandable that they would deal with these feelings. If you look at all of the lottery winners who found themselves with ruined lives because of their good fortune, you can begin to understand where these feelings come from. Still, I don't have this phobia and would be more than happy to help any rich person who does.
7.
Ablutophobia, the fear of bathing. Or neckbeard syndrome. To most people, a nice relaxing bath or long hot shower are things that are looked forward to. That bubble bath at the end of a long day is like magic. To people with ablutophobia, these things can be absolutely terrifying. Ablutophobia is the intense fear of bathing, showering, or washing. What could cause someone to suffer from this phobia? Usually it comes from some traumatic event, like almost drowning in a tub or after having been in an abusive situation as a child. While these things can be the cause, ablutophobia is normally found in toddlers and younger children. Baths are strange and weird to them. Also, if the parent bathing them is all business about the bath and never makes it a fun experience, it's understandable their children could fear them. Luckily, most people simply grow out of ablutophobia as they get older. But for others, this fear can be debilitating and cause real problems for the sufferer and everyone else around them.
6.
Geliophobia is the fear of laughter. It is close in nature, but very different from Gelatophobia, which is the fear of being laughed at. People with Geliophobia actually experience intense anxiety at the sound of laughter itself and will remove themselves from any situation where the possibility of laughter exists. Doctors have theorized that Geliophobia is most likely to appear in people who have either lived with someone with the disorder or with someone who suffers from the very similar Gelatophobia.
5.
Okay, we're just gonna call this one HP because too many letters. Some people consider Hippopotomonstrosesquippedaliophobia to be a joke or a fictional phobia, and the American Psychological Association doesn't recognize it as an actual phobia. But it's real. Hippopotomonstrosesquippedaliophobia is thought to form from one of these social phobias. It's likely that a person with Hippopotomonstrosesquippedaliophobia possibly had an experience in school where they were reading out loud or speaking in front of a group of people and were laughed at for a mispronunciation of some other long word. This can be quite traumatic for any young person, planting the seeds of say it with me everyone, Hippopotomonstrosesquippedaliophobia early in life. If you have this phobia, you will stay away from any situation that could be fun or bring happiness.
4.
Heliophobia, the fear of sunlight. It's very likely that vampires are sufferers of heliophobia. You see, heliophobia is the fear of sunlight. And yes, I know vampires aren't real. Probably. The fear of sunlight is different from having photosensitivity, which is basically an allergy to UV rays. Heliophobics can't even think of themselves going out in the daylight. Obviously, this phobia can result in those affected never being able to live any kind of normal life. The causes of heliophobia are thought to have their root in the effects of the sun rather than the sunlight specifically. Maybe the heliophobic once had an especially terrible sunburn, or is terrified of getting skin cancer. It may seem like a ridiculous thing to be terrified of, but whatever the cause, heliophobia is a serious condition.
3.
Eisoptrophobia, the fear of mirrors. Continuing with the vampire example, we now move on to mirrors. Vampires are not the only beings with an aversion to mirrors. People with eisoptrophobia are ridiculously afraid of them as well. Sometimes stemming from body dysmorphia issues, people with eisoptrophobia will avoid or fear mirrors because they are disgusted by what they see reflected back at them. But for others, it's much different. Many people with eisoptrophobia have an irrational fear, which comes from superstitions or urban legends associated with mirrors. They may be afraid of mirrors because if they cause one to break, they'll experience 7 years of bad luck. There are also those who have heard legends such as Bloody Mary, where the spirit will appear and kill you if you say your name 3 times into a mirror while standing in a darkened room. At least that's one version of the legend. And some people have probably just seen too many horror movies and experienced too many jump scares for their own good.
2.
Panophobia, the fear of everything. While no longer an official diagnosis, panophobia is generally the fear of everything. Today, it goes by the more accurate medical term, generalized anxiety disorder, or panic disorder, where once doctors would simply write off these disorders as someone who was scared of their own shadow, panophobia became a sort of catch-all for every disorder that's now more clearly understood. But there are people who are essentially afraid of everything, all the time. They feel like they can't live or function because they're convinced something terrible is just gonna happen to them. It's only a matter of when.
1.
Phobophobia, the fear of phobias, or fear. If you think you know what this phobia is just by its name, you'd be absolutely correct. Phobophobia is the intense fear of being afraid, and thereby being afraid of having a phobia. Phobophobia can be caused if at some point in your life you experience the scare that causes you to shake uncontrollably, or by getting chest pains or vomiting. You go on to develop a fear of how you feel when you experience fear. You also suffer from one or more of the hundreds of other phobias, and you get a fear of your fear from those fears. Roosevelt once said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." In the case of phobophobics, he was exactly on point. Many of these phobias may seem ridiculous or made up, but I assure you they are all real. Well, except for one. Did you guess which phobia was the fake? If you said the Pickle Phobia, you'd be wrong. That one's real. The fake phobia is actually, drumroll please, Fictofabriphobia. Correct, you guys did it. I believe in all of you. Nowhere has it been documented that someone has an intense or irrational fear of a fictional character. But who knows? Maybe in the future someone will get the fear and we will have made up a real problem. One can dream, right? Do you experience any of these or other phobias? Let us know in the comments below and share your experience with others so maybe they will see that they're not alone. Check us out on social media. Links again in the description below. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the fun stuff, and we'll see you next time here on List 25. Catch you later, guys. Bye.
Be sure to click that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Share them with your friends and help us consistently conciliate curiosity. And if you want even more lists, check out these videos here or just head to our website at list25.com.